truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahamsa Yogananda. There are many places in the Gospel where we see Jesus in open conflict with the Pharisees, that is to say, with man-made as opposed to true mystical tradition. In the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 15, we see a good example of how they and he locked horns. And I quote, "Then some of the scribes and Pharisees from Jerusalem came and asked Jesus, 'Why do your disciples break our ancient tradition and eat their food without washing their hands properly first?' Jesus, after scolding them for their hypocrisy in observing lesser rules so carefully while ignoring the much more important ones, said," I quote again, "Listen and understand this thoroughly. It is not what goes into a man's mouth that makes him common or unclean. It is what comes out of a man's mouth that makes him unclean." It wasn't that Jesus counseled against such wholesome practices as washing one's hands before eating. In an age, however, when lesser rules were given too much importance relative to the truly important observances, cleansing the heart of impure desires, for example, he emphasized the supreme importance of loving God and of communing with Him. The Pharisees, the orthodox religionists of his day, in other words, had brought true religion down to a level of intellectual hair-splitting. They mistakenly considered the way to understanding to lie through a minefield of definitions, which they tried to refine to ultimate exactitude. Jesus taught, however, that the intellect alone can never lead one to truth. Without love, indeed, there is no ultimate verity. Without fixity of purpose, born of the heart's devotion, the intellect wanders endlessly. It cannot settle for long on anything. As the Bhagavad Gita says in the 2nd chapter, the intellects of those who lack fixity of spiritual purpose are inconstant, their interests endlessly ramified. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Good morning. I'm going to read a few lines from the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Their thoughts engrossed in me, their being surrendered to me, enlightening one another and conversing of me, they are ever contented and filled with joy. Ordinary human beings accustomed to the pleasure of conversing together, of gossiping and retailing the latest news, coupled with their opinions and reactions, imagine that in God all this fascinating variety will be lost. Krishna suggests in this stanza that such is far from the case. Not only is the bliss of Sachitananda ever new, as Yogananda declared, but those who know it find, even in conversing together of divine matters, a level of delight which worldly people never know. People's sheer need for variety indicates the barrenness of their hearts, which drives them to seek anxiously a few raindrops of diversity in hope of somehow slaking their thirst. When two people meet who know God, they may not converse much, but the flow of divine love and bliss between them is completely satisfying to them both. To those who are attached only to me and who worship me with love, I impart that discernment of wisdom by which they attain me completely. Out of pure compassion, that is, out of the selfless gift of love, with no admixture of compulsion, I, the Divine One, who dwells in all, set alight in their hearts the blazing lamp of wisdom, which banishes their darkness of ignorance. It is important for the spiritual aspirant to realize that he doesn't earn anything by seeking God. Divine grace is still a gift of compassion and may be withheld from those who follow the law exactly, but who, perhaps out of dryness of heart, fail to win his love. God may, on the other hand, reward with the highest wisdom those who, in their surrender of perfect devotion, only love him. Through the intervention of the Sadguru alone do such blessings come. Thank you.
Good morning, friends. My name is Brahmachari Devendra. I'm coming from Gurgaon this morning. I'm very happy to be here, share Master's teaching inspiration with you this morning. Today's topic is can we arrive at understanding by thinking? And when I was thinking about this topic, I was thinking that Master said a simple statement. He said, I think most of our familiar with that statement. He said that if we read for 1 hour, write for 2 hours, think for 3 hours, then think for 3 hours, and meditate all the time, it seems pretty obvious that, of course, reading is easy, writing is a little bit more difficult, and thinking is even more difficult, and meditation is much more difficult. And we can take this statement on a very literal level that, first of all, we can say that reading, most people read, and they like to read, they like to discuss, they like to write, like to think about. But if we see this statement, where is the heart? Where did Master mention the heart? That heart is mentioned in meditation. Master says that meditation is about opening the heart. So it is there, the heart, the quality of the heart is there. But this is the explanation we can say as same as iPhone 5S. We can take the next explanation as iPhone 6, you can say, which is a higher version of this statement. And this could be like this, that Master said that, he said that I never had 20 books in my lifetime. But ask me anything, I can tell you anything. And he said, how? Because he said that I go to the library of ether. I read, I have access to that, I can read everything from there. Then he says about writing that he wrote all the books, not from his consciousness, but from the divine consciousness. His consciousness was divine consciousness too. But wrote Gita or the Bible, all the explanation, he said that it was flowing from God, it was flowing from the Vyasa. All those writings, Master said that. And Master explains that also the thinking. Master said most people don't think actually. Most people's thinking is very shallow. Most people don't think very deep thinking. Not very clear thinking. So, what is the highest form of thinking? The highest form of thinking could be thinking of God, receiving inspiration directly from God. That's the higher form of thinking. And then higher form of meditations are too there, that after opening the heart, is experiencing the God, is going to the bliss of God. There was a Saint Teresa of Avila, who was Master disciple in this lifetime, Sister Gyanamata, and she said that she would enter into the 4th stage of the prayer, where she could not think anymore. She would simply experience. She would simply experience. And this is why that when we meditate, when thoughts come, even the kind thoughts, it's not good to entertain them also. We go to the next step. We go to the experience, the direct experience of the divine. And so, Master said that I've been a little bit interested in reading the higher civilizations. And if you see the many different civilizations, very advanced, very, very advanced. Even there, I was just reading recently that in India, in the ancient civilization, there have been findings that they have atomic bombs. There have been findings that they had atomic bombs in those times too. But those civilizations, many of those other civilizations, Egyptian civilizations, or other civilizations, they did not last long. They were gone. They were very advanced, far. If you read Swamiji's book, Swami Kirananda's book, The Time Tunnel, Swamiji describes far advanced civilizations, but they came, they gone. Master starts autobiography Yogi. He says that civilizations of Babylon and Mesopotamia and Egypt, They came and they were gone. But the civilization of India, it remained because saints and sages of India who loved God. And they came all the time to protect the civilization. And Master said that, Master started out by Rafi Yogi with this line in the first paragraph. He ended his life also with singing of India, praising India. He said that where Ganges, woods, Himalayan caves, and men dream God, I am hallowed that my body is touched that sword. That is Master's emphasizing. We can advance as much as we want. Master said that there is no end of evolution. We can go as far as we can go. But then we need to experience, we need to end that evolution, and that evolution is ending in God. That when we experience God, that's the end. That's the end of everything. That's the experience of everything, you can say. I heard that some of you were in Vrindavan, maybe last week. Yes. So I was in Vrindavan too. That about a couple of months back, Manjunath, who is a project coordinator there, director there, I went with him and I stayed there a couple of days there, and it's from outward, as you all experienced, it's pretty much chaos. So hodgepodge and everything, but there is a deep vibration there that people who meditate, they can sense it, they can deeply feel it. And I was stayed there 2 nights, and then one night as you go in the holy lands and you can feel these things, and one night I was sleeping, and I had a dream there. And I had a dream, the dream was that I was saying to somebody that, oh, in the next room there is Shukeshwarji, and I want to go to that room. How often do you have this kind of dream? But when you go to these places, the vibration, the Krishna were played for eternity, and still they say that Krishna comes every night. He plays there with the gopis, the gopis who were sages before, the rishis there before. And so the vibrations, which is filled, Swamiji says that when he used to come to India, he came to India before, you could feel the vibrations emanating from the soil of the India. And it's because the love of the rishis towards God, that soil is impregnated with those holy vibrations of God. And this is why that civilization of India has been going. Master said that in one of his talks he said that there was a professor, he was researching on Atlantic Ocean about how eels are snakes in the water, how eels reproduce themselves. Master said that, and he was researching for 20 years. And Master said that, my goodness, if he had meditated for 20 years, he would not have known about eels, but known everything in the universe. And that is how we go on, that we spend 20 years on one thing, which is worth nothing. What we find at the end, the life is ending, and the next life, and we start something else. We go on actually. Swamiji often mentioned about the French philosopher Descartes, and he said that his famous line was, I think, therefore I am. That was his line. And Swamiji said that, well, he was a philosopher, he thought, but his basis of thinking was wrong. He says that it's not because I'm thinking I feel myself alive, it's because I exist, and because of that existence, I can think. Master said that we don't produce thoughts in our brain. We receive the thoughts. We don't produce the thoughts in our brain, in our minds, but we receive the thoughts. We don't create the thoughts. And Master gave the definition, Swami Shankaracharya, first definition he gave of God was Satchidananda. And he defined existence, Satchidananda, as existence, consciousness, and bliss. Master, in this lifetime, he expanded that explanation. He said that ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. Master explained that thought. And he said that the essence of the whole reality is that consciousness, and the nature of that consciousness is the bliss. And God has been existing since eternity. And one time Master was giving a lecture in America, and he asked the audience, what is my age? People started saying his age from 25, and they went up to 700 years. And Master said that, I never tell my age. And he said that, but my age is one, it's infinite. I am as old as God, ever existing, he said that.
I'm as old as God. My body has this age, but my soul, it exists as long as God has been in existence. And so the ever-existing, ever-conscious, ever-new bliss. And Swamiji said that, he said that there are two things that science can never can produce. It is self-awareness, that's our own existence that we know, and the feeling aspect. And that consciousness, that ever-existing consciousness that we feel is never broken. Swami said that, Master said also that when we sleep in the night, when we wake up in the morning, how do we know how well we slept? It's because we are conscious all the time. But that consciousness was very dim. And he said that when we die, it's not that the body dies, but the consciousness, the chain of the consciousness never breaks. He said that. It always continues. So it's ever existing. And then Master said that the bliss, that feeling of the human being, that actual bliss of God is watered down as a human feelings, you can say. And we have to trace our steps back to that pure feeling, pure bliss. As, there was a Master often gave this example about the intellect, the importance of intellect. It is important. Master had a disciple, and those of you who are Kriyabans, that we teach Kriya in the beginning, we use your hand and feel the cool and the warm currents and everything. And this devotee, he practiced Kriya with the hands for 10 years. And when Master heard about that, Master said that fools can never find God. Master said that it takes certain amount of intelligence to find God. It's not that simple yet. But he said, but the emphasis is not on the intellect alone. Master explained further, he said that it's like there's a restaurant next door. And you know, by heart, by mind, you memorize the whole menu of the restaurant. You know everything what is good in that restaurant, you know. But if you're not hungry, you're not going to go there and eat. It is that hunger that takes us there. And that hunger is devotion. The intellect can tell us, but it cannot take us there. It cannot have that experience. And so is a devotion that takes us there and have us that experience. You know that while we're talking about the food, in the Vedas they say that God is rasa, is the most relishable that the mankind can ever experience. And the other interesting thing I found in the readings is that they say that God is a siddha. Means God cannot be proved. He is not provable. So it's only, we cannot prove God, but we can experience. And so there is a demand, there is a need for intellect and the devotion also, that we need to balance, at least in the beginning. But once we balance, we forget about the thinking, we forget about the intellect, we go with the experience of the God. And Swamiji met the sadhu in Puri one time, and the sadhu was very old, I mean maybe 100 years old. And Swamiji asked him, just talking to him, he asked him that, and Sadhu said that, first he said that you should not enjoy anything. And Swamiji said that, not even a sunshine, not even a sunset, beautiful sunset. And Sadhu says no. And Swamiji thought that is not what Master taught. And what is this? And Swamiji said that this is not true. And Swamiji explained further that he says that Master explained, the ancient sages explained that why did God create this universe? And the answer is that so that he can enjoy himself through many. Of course, people say that, oh, how can God enjoy when there is suffering? But Master said that God is not enjoying the pleasures and the pain we are going through, but He is enjoying the process through which we are going to find Him. And he explains further, he says that it's like a novel. If in the novel everything is nice and good, what will happen? Let's say, and we go to sleep. But if he says that if there's a novel, in the novel if there's an up and down, there's interest. We'll be awake and ready. And so that Master said that God is not so much interested not touched so much about our happiness and sorrow, but He's interested how we are going to find Him. He's watching that part. He's interested in that part. And if the God is enjoying that process, why should not we enjoy the life? Master said that life was not meant we should degrade ourselves and we should curse ourselves. No, life was meant we could enjoy the life too. But enjoy life in a right way. And what is that right way? That enjoy life, enjoy everything, all the experiences with God. Master said that enjoy in the consciousness of sharing it with God. And if we do that, we'll find that life is rich. Life is much more beautiful. And if we don't do it, what will happen? Exactly opposite will happen. If we enjoy for ourselves, what will happen? Because we are enjoying in the realm of duality, we'll go to the opposite sides of that also. The boredom, the pain, and the suffering, and then restlessness, all that thing, we will have experienced that. We cannot avoid that. But if we enjoy everything with God, we can enjoy life too. Is that not so? And if we enjoy ourselves just for the sake of ourselves, what we'll find, as I was reading in the Bhagavad Gita, that a lot of people think enjoy life in terms of variety. That it doesn't interest me, let's find the next thing, let's find next thing, let's find next thing. And in that variety, we are trying to find that enjoyment. But if you are trying to do, look in your life also. If you are trying to do, we'll find our heart is dry and barren. Life will be complex. We'll find that. So in the simplicity of enjoying with God and enjoying the bliss of God, we'll find that life is much more richer. Life is much more interesting. And life will be much more simpler there. And Master said there are two of the commandments that all the saints have anchored their teachings. There are two commandments, Master said. All the teachings, whether it's the teaching of the Christ, whether the teachings of the Krishna or the Buddha, there are two commandments Master said they are the most important. And he said that, the first commandment, he said that, love God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, with all thy soul, and with all thy strength. And then the second Master said that, the second most important, the commandment, he said that, with that love, when you love God, love your neighbor with that love. Love thy neighbor with that love. And those are the two most important commandments that all the true teachings, all the true teachings of all the civilizations, all the true religions are anchored. And as I said that, what is the goal of the life? What is the goal of the life? And the Master says, Swami says that the goal of life is to experience the bliss in God. That is the only purpose of life. And if we want to attain anything else, that will not last long. And so, there is another commandment which I like to close this morning, which is from the Bible, and it's very beautiful that Christ says there. He says that he who finds his life in me will lose it. Will find it, and he will loses his life in me will find life, and he who will find life itself will lose it. And so it so feels that so cannot be, you can say, cannot be understood by a thinking mind. We have to experience these things. Master, there was a devotee who was very orthodox, and he came to Master and he said to Master that everything what Christ says should be taken literally. And Master said, what about the Eden garden? And he said that it was true, that this orthodox person, the religious person, he said, it's just true. Master said, what about the snakes talking in those days? And the man says, the snakes could talk in those days. Master said that he saw that in that man as a child of God, he said that, I bow to the temple of ignorance. Master had a cap on his head. So he took off the hat and he bowed. He said that, I bow to the temple of ignorance I behold in front of me. What do I do? What do we do when people do such things that they want to experience on a very shallow level? What do? We respect them also. But as true teachings of the Master, we do have to experience the bliss of the God. That is the purpose of the meditation. There is no other purpose of meditation. Experiencing the bliss of God, that is the purpose of the life.